But I told dispatch, never again, don't ever send me back there. And I don't know if I'm talking to people, asking them, yeah, have you hauled that? And they're right, they're not going to send me out there to do that. I've heard stories. So yeah, other drivers will scare you about going into areas that if you've never been there before, and they're trying to give you heads up, but you don't really get everything. And so it's just an experience you have to find out on your own and do it. Yeah, my first time going into New York running the 95 heading up, I was with that outfit. They used to run the shit out of me going up 95, going up to Vermont and all over the New England area, and then go down into we mostly hauled a lot of lumber out of Massachusetts. I remember going to New Hampshire, Vermont, picking up lumber and taking a load to Vermont in the winter time, where I had no clue there was a resort. You know, it was snowy and I'm almost slipping out. I'm going up a hill. It was a bad snowstorm. I have to hurry and try to find the low gear where I was going so slow, I almost was, if I didn't grab that gear, man, I would have been stuck going up some little hill that it took me right past the ski resort, you know, and I didn't know there was mountains around, you know, in Vermont. So my first time going through New Jersey and through New York to go into Connecticut or wherever, taking a load to go to Massachusetts. See, that company gave us fuel routes, and you'd have to go to the truck stop they put in, you know, the system to say where to get your fuel. It was a joke. So my first time in Wawa, New Jersey, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but so there's this pilot, you're going through New Jersey and you get off, it's just close, it's just outside of, not too far outside of, you know, the big city, New York, and going over the Tappan Zee Bridge. I call it the Tappan Zee Bridge, it's a Tappan Zee or whatever, I can't remember. I'd call it the Tappan Zee Bridge. But once I found out how to go, just stay on 95. If I was coming from south, you know, through Baltimore and DC and all that, and heading up 95 that way, I always went over GW, and then there's people talking in our company, oh, you're not supposed to go that, we were supposed to go over the other bridge. I'm like, that's the way I'm most familiar with. I'm going over GW, because you'd look out and see, you know, on the Hudson River, you'd see the city better, and you'd go through the Bronx after you went over the bridge, and it was just more exciting. So first time going my travels ever that way, I followed the fuel route. I was driving all day. I was down in Virginia somewhere, and I was heading into Massachusetts or somewhere in New England, and so I'd been driving all day, and I only had maybe an hour and a half tops left on my time, more for drive time to keep going. After I found this fuel stop, you get off the, you know, interstate, and then you go down a street a ways. It's not one of those pilots, it's just right off the road, you know, when you're out in the country, and it's just easy to find. It's just one where you go down the road a ways, and then, you know, when not ever being there, the first time you're trying to find where to get back on the freeway, and you're trying to follow your GPS, and it can get annoying. So I was tired, man. I'd driven all day long, and I was wanting to shut down after I fueled, you know, or just go there and fuel in the morning, because I was beat going up 95, you know, driving through all the traffic, and just, it wears you out, man. You get, because it's congested. And so it was a small little pilot, and there was no parking. I was like, great, where in the hell am I gonna park? Never being out in that area, you know, and I know I was close to where it's just congested, and so I was stressing on that. And I look and I find this truck stop. It's like an hour away, or 45 minutes away from where I was at. It was in Connecticut, another small truck stop. It probably would have been, you know, no parking by the time I got there, because it was getting dark, or it was, yeah, when I first started getting on the road. So it gets dark, and before you hit any of the bridges, the Zap and T Bridge, the road, the freeway I was on, I went up like 81 or something from PA into New Jersey. It wasn't on the 95 because of their fuel route takes you to that. That's the way it took me to that truck stop. So I'm back on the road. I'm stressed. I'm like, oh, I hope I get there. You know, it's busy and lots of traffic, and I hope nothing, you know, I don't run out of time. I see two huge signs. So it's the parkway. Trucks aren't allowed on the parkway. And all I see is these two huge signs, and I look up, it says no trucks on the parkway. It said they were right next to each other. If I kept staying on the freeway going, I'm new to trucking, you know, and I'm just not all that bright. So I just hurried and was like, what? I was looking down at my GPS, and it was saying go this way, and I just hurried and went to the right, because I thought it was saying no trucks on the left, you know. I just all of a sudden it come up to where there's a turn, and then I was like, it said it on both sides. Of what the crap? There's the Utah Lake. Obviously. And I'm just cruising along. The road's a little, you know, smaller. I'm on the parkway. I get like 3 or 4 cars honking at me, and I'm looking at it's start time, and it's busy, you know, rush hour traffic, still lots of people in that area, because it's so overpopulated. And I'm just thinking I might be swerving over the line a little bit, because the road, it got a little skinnier. So no trucks are allowed. I guess there's signs for a low bridge clearance that I missed, and I was like, all these cars were honking. I was kind of like looking at the back of my trailer, making sure I wasn't swerving over, you know, making sure they were trying to warn me, like, oh, you're not supposed to be on the parkway. So, and then it comes up onto a light, and I was a ways back behind the light, and there's an officer going the other direction, and it was a red light, and I was back a few cars, you know, and I see this spotlight pointed towards me, and there's a freaking cop trying to get my attention, and I'm pointing at myself, me, you know, and he's like, yeah, he's like, he got over his intercom or speaker or whatever, and pull over, get off the freaking road. And so I turn right at the light, and then I bust like a left, and then there's no shoulder or nothing, and I was trying to get my trailer out of, you know, the corner. I was trying to keep going straight a little ways, and this cop was freaking out, and he's honking his horn. And then they have these other smaller 4-wheeler truck, you know, it's like a road service. They help them out. They'll just be there, and they can help him out. And he gets in front of me and he cuts me off to get me to stop because I was trying to go up a ways up the road just to get out of where people are turning, you know, so I wouldn't be right after I turn, you know. I was trying to go up a little ways and he was just honking, doing his stupid horn at me and being like, pull over, and that made him mad. And so he ends up just, where are you from? I'm like, Utah. I'm like, this is my first time in this area, you know. I tried to explain, you know, I was all calm. I'm like, what in the hell? He was just, you could tell how frustrated he was with me. Like, he was started going off. He's like, didn't you see those low clearance sign for the bridge? There's a bridge that you're not going to be able to go under, and this is a parkway. You're not supposed to be on here. And he's just, where's your license registration? And he was just pissed, you know. And I'm just like, this is my first time here, and I was going to stop at this my fuel stop, but there was no parking, so I had to keep going. And I saw these, you know, the two signs, and I got confused. And then, why aren't you paying attention to the signs? You know, all these cars kept honking at me, and I was maybe sidetracked. I was trying to watch my driving. I was seeing all these cars, you know, on the road, and I was paying more attention to my driving than freaking signs. Sorry, you know. And he was just pissed off, and he's like, he took my license and registration, and he ended up coming back, and he's like, welcome to New York City. And I wasn't even in New York City. He's just like being one of the typical New Yorkers, thinking they're just the way they are. Oh. If you know what I'm talking about. I have other stories about the New York people. Just their attitude, they think they're hardcore just because it's such a big city, and they're cocky about it or whatever. So there's a sailboat out there. That's the first time I've seen a sailboat out on Utah Lake in forever. So he comes back and he's like, I'm giving you a ticket for this, for not obeying the road signs, and for this, not being on the parkway, and something else I forget. And I was just like, oh, you know, great. There goes my career. Pretty much all of this one incident. I was, you know, stressing, just thinking, oh man, he totally overacted, I think. And so, yeah, I had a whole rap sheet, 3 different things, and so I turned it into my company because that company offered, you get money taken out of your check, and they fight tickets for you. So I signed up for that, and I was having money taken out of each check, you know, to fight. They go to court, and you don't have to deal with it. That's what they said. So yeah, I'm like, yeah. And they convince you to sign up. They're like, yeah, because if you go back east, you know, and something happens, and you're not going to be able to take off work and go, you know, and take off time to go to court and all that. And I'm like, totally makes sense, right? Sign me up. And so I did. There's spiders all through here. I've come here where there's webs, and there's huge spiders, so I'm looking and wondering, trying to see. I don't see any. I'll go down here. So, yeah, that happened. And so I'm having to, like, do things, and I'm explaining to the court, like, they're getting a hold of me, and they're like, I sent my, you know, tickets into my company, you know, to let them do it, and I ended up having to do more things and send in, and I'm like, this is crap. And I was still working for him at the time, for at least, I worked for him almost a year, 11 months, and this was probably the first 2 months from working there. It happened within the first month or two from that happening, and And I'm like, get a hold of them. I signed up for, I explained to them, I'm like, why are you bothering me? I'm trying to do my job, you know. I was always up in New England, and always, you know, in areas where I'm trying to drive, and I have people calling me, and oh, you have to do this. I'm like, no, I signed up for a service through them. They said they were taking care of everything, and so just ridiculous, you know, have to go through that crap. And so after that cop let me go, I ended up going under that bridge. See, their trucks they don't have the other big rigs have that extension, like it to have for the wind, it like shoots up, you know. I can't think of what it's called there, but their trucks were cut off, you know, just flat, and they weren't as high. The heights was, their trucks are what, 10, they were 10 feet 3 inches or something. They were, and the other trucks ended up being like 13 or 14, I can't remember. But so I think I ended up getting back on the parkway for another second because my GPS told me to go back on, and I ended up going through that low clearance tunnel. I almost come to a complete stop, and I'm looking, I'm thinking my truck's gonna make this. I'm good, and whoever was behind me had to get over in the right lane, or I putted up to it, and I just, because I don't know where the cop went. I let him leave, and so then I got off some road, and then I was following along, I think close by the river Hudson, and it was dark time. I was like, great, and I'm like trying to look at a map. I'm like trying to figure out which way to get back on the interstate, and I headed back. I backtracked. I ended up going back past where that truck stop was, because I'm like, I remember seeing rest stops on the side of the road, so I ended up going in the opposite direction a little ways, and I barely made it in time just to hurry and park and, you know, shut down. So luckily, yeah, I made it to a stop. So that's just one incident. I have several incidents from going somewhere for the first time, and it just being funny, just how